there is an article by Mr. Raja Mohan in today's Indian Express, the Ukraine dilemma. As you already probably know, Russia has already done some adventure in the Ukraine region. It has declared some part of Ukraine as an independent region. In the last 12 years, this is the latest development. Till now, India had a choice to be strategically silent. Yes, we issued a statement saying that Ukraine and Russia and all the actors involved, taking their own strategic national interest into consideration, should talk among themselves. So you should be friend to everyone. That is what India's line was. Now Russia has crossed a line. So what did Russia do? Technically calling it as a capture will be diplomatically incorrect, right? So what it has done is, it has declared these areas more or less as independent region. Why? There is a lot of Russian support. Okay, there are a lot of Russian rebels in this particular region. So that is why Russia is claiming them as independent nations, right? Independent areas, and it is even willing to send peace troops. It's like China declaring Arunachal Pradesh as a independent region and sending troops to maintain peace in Arunachal Pradesh. It's totally idiotic in many levels. Okay. So what Russia aims for is limited sovereignty, right? So Russia wants to control the sovereignty of Ukraine through its own narration, right? See, a sovereign nation means you are free to take decisions in every aspect. Your security, your international relations are mine, everything else is yours. Okay, it does not work like that. That country should have a choice and a say. And as I say, if China actually declares Arunachal Pradesh as an independent region, will Arunachal Pradesh people be happy? No. Why? They are already nicely integrated with India. But if there are Russian rebels or pro-Russians, automatically they will support Russia's thought process. So Russia is getting some strong foothold because of the people on the other side of the border, and now it might attract a lot of tensions, sanctions also. So what should be the India's stand? We cannot support Russia, definitely. As I said, if I link it to India, if China does the same thing tomorrow, what will we say? We cannot have two rules for two people, right? For us and Russians, it's the same rule. Russia should respect the territorial sovereignty of other nations. So India should technically condemn Russia's action. So we'll see how it plays out. What will be the sanctions that are imposed on Russia and all those things. At the same time, if you see the macro map, this is the region that I was discussing. This entire region might be used as a tool to control Ukraine. Okay. Now, so this is apart from the Raja Mohan's article. This is after the article has been written. This happened. Everything happened after the article has been written, that Russia is taking a action. Now, what is the article discussing? What is the core theme of the article? If you remember, the other day I showed you a map. NATO, expansion of NATO after 1997, and Russia. Do you remember that map? Blue color, orange color. Just few days ago, right? Europe, right? The dark blue color is Europe. I did show you this map, right? I didn't take class on Saturday, right? Yes. So this is NATO. The dark one is NATO. The next one is expansion of NATO. Now is Russia and Ukraine. So Russia is always afraid of expansion of NATO. So that is the core problem of the entire Russian debacle right now. Yeah. Now West is saying, technically we will call this as West, right? The Britain, the France, the old guard is West. Okay. The expansion is just to keep them safe, and the other part is Russia. So the two kinds of the story is, Russia has this balkanization problem. Russia thinks that all these countries once belonged to me. I should have more sphere of influence. Okay, sphere of influence. The West thinks that expansion of Russia can happen, which might lead to instability. That is why we should not encourage Russia. So these countries are Central Asian countries. Okay, so these Central Asian countries, sorry, Central European countries, correct? Central European countries These Central European countries have a simple thought process. They have a mind of their own. They don't want to be the part of any grouping or any organization and be dominated by it. Things have changed. NATO was a product of a different era. Cold War era, right? NATO was a product of a Cold War era. Now, if you think about it, Russia and Germany are very nicely linked to oil relations. Nord Stream 2. Germany is heavily dependent on Russian energy security. Not only Russia, Italy, so many other small countries are also dealing with Russia. So the Central European region is okay to be friends with Russia and USA. But the entire thought process is what, if you remember, the Germany naval head has to resign just because he praised Putin. You remember when he came to IDSA, he said something like, Crimea is a part of Russia now. It's a past history. Nothing can change. So because he said that, he was forced to resign. That means the European colonial mindset is, the old mindset is that Russia is the enemy. Russia should not be encouraged. But these Central European countries are thinking in a different line. On the one hand side, you have USA. On the one hand side, you have Russia. Russia is having sanctions. It is doing something. But now, who wants to dominate the entire team? NATO. And who is the head of NATO? USA. But what about my energy security? Right? So that is one problem. Second thing, these countries are also not blind to Russia's sphere of influence. They are not saying that, I want to be friends with Russia. I want to be friends with Russia to the extent where it will help me. That's all. I don't want Russia to increase its influence. But what the old mindset is, if we give some leeway to Russia, if we allow trade to happen to Russia, Russia might grow, Russia might become powerful, blah, blah. You get the story, right? So they are suffocating Russia like anything. So when you force someone to the wall, automatically they will take the drastic steps. When the entire West is threatening you with sanctions, still you are moving ahead. Why? Desperation, right? This is the opportunistic moment for Russia. If it can make a peace deal with Western countries right now in return agreement, okay, so it can happily or peacefully say, there won't be any more expansion of NATO. At the same time, if there is a written agreement between Russia and the Western countries, these countries are more than happy to do the trade with Russia. Right now, what is the threat? If Russia occupies Ukraine, Germany will be forced to stop Nord Stream 2. Is Germany happy with that? No. But does Germany have an option? No. Morally, you have to take a stand. So all these are very strong complications that we have to think of. Okay. So that is what Mr. Raja Mohan is trying to tell you, that Central European countries are, they are like a buffer between the actual West and the Russia. They have their mind of their own, and Russia cannot easily buy their loyalty. Okay, Russia cannot increase the sphere of influence because these people want Russia for their own thought process, not for joining Russia back. Russia wants to inculcate all these countries, but at the same time, these countries want to grow. The other side of the story is what? Today Russia occupied Crimea, tomorrow it will occupy Ukraine. What guarantees are there that day after tomorrow Russia went, say Slovakia was once upon a time ours? So we need to have a written agreement from Russian perspective also, that NATO will be here. This is the line where we draw. Status quo. Whatever is in 2022 will be status quo. That you won't expand, we won't expand. If the moment you break the promise, we will also expand the NATO. Such kind of agreement has to be developed. Okay. Next, one more film's point of view he mentions is the 3C initiative. If you see again, the 3C initiative: Baltic Sea, Adriatic Sea, and Black Sea. Between these three countries, with these three seas, there are all the countries. These are more or less again the same Central European countries. Not exactly Central European, but a lot of overlapping will happen with Central European countries. These countries are also free to do their own trade pacts. They want to develop on their own. They don't want to be under the shadow of USA, at the same time shadow of Russia, right? They are happy that NATO is providing security, but at the same time They don't want NATO to dictate terms to their growth. That is the core argument that entire Mr. Rajamohan article is discussing. Now, he also discusses where does India's loyalty lie. Till now, Ukraine and Russia were fighting, on the verge of fighting. So, as a third party, we were saying peace, Om Shanti. Yes or no? Don't fight, all these things, just like kids are. Now, this fellow slapped this fellow. Now, the war escalated. Now, what is your stand? If you criticize Russia, then Russia will say India is a USA ally. For lack of better word, right? Because the classes are being recorded, so I cannot use the same term, right? Okay, so ally of USA, not Chemcha. Okay, okay, so we will call them as allies. If I say something against you, if I don't say anything against Ukraine, then if the same thing happens to me, then there is no moral authority left for me, right? If I am silent, then USA or someone will say you are Russian ally. This is what we have done in past also in 1965, 90 other cases where Rajamohan cites. Russia has occupied some other countries. India was more or less silent. Though we were practicing NAM, we were biased. We are implementing a NAM more in breach than in practice. So I hope you understood the context, right? Central European countries. He's not talking about Russia alone. He's not talking about Ukraine. He's talking about where does the future lie. The future lies in between all these things. There is no one size fits all approach. Central European countries want their own autonomy. Russia wants its own sphere of influence. USA wants its own promises, right? And we also have to link it to domestic politics of USA. If Joe Biden is not doing anything, he will be considered as weak. There is already a huge support for Donald Trump. If Trump was there, he would have dropped a few nuclear bombs by now. World would have been more peaceful. So his supporters believe all these things. Yes or no? The other day, just like Amit Shah was saying, if Modi was there in 1847, Kartarpur corridor would have been in India. Why Kartarpur only? Entire Lahore would have been under India. This could have been, would have been, should have been is rewriting the history. Yes. So Donald Trump, if he was a president, what will happen? He might have blocked, he might have tweeted something. Yes, he might have met Putin by now. World peace, Nobel Prize, anything could have happened. Yes or no? Donald Trump actually deserves Nobel Prize, right? But trying to do peace with Iran, North Korea, Kashmir issue, is Israel completed, right? Probably Russian issue. Four international issues you would have solved. Sometimes out of the box thinking is what is needed. Yes. Okay. So just remember what is happening in Russia will definitely have ramifications for Indian per se. If Ukraine tensions escalate, stock markets will collapse. Oil security will be affected. Oil prices will go very high. There will be global ramifications. Global trade will slow down. When global trade slows down, Indian trade will also slow down. Our exports will come down. Above all, China will get more breathing space. If USA is entering into the quagmire of Russia-Ukraine conflict, it will be sucked by that conflict for 10 more years. Then China will have more freedom to grow. Okay, it's either bipolar or unipolar. There is no going back. It's already bipolar, right? More or less. Okay, clear?
The state of realism. What should India do if at all Russia escalates?
India should say don't, right? So realism means, again, I have to link it to my own backyard. So historically, we were once great. That is the thought process of Russia, right? We were once a great nation, USSR. Does that sound something closer to India? Akhand Bharat. Bangladesh was ours. Sri Lanka was ours. Bhutan, Rangoon. So I had a huge amount of influence. Now I want to be great again. What should I do? Should I go and occupy Pakistan? The best way to solve Pakistan problem is to occupy Pakistan. Problem solved. So see that cannot be undone, right? What is done cannot be undone. So now these small nations, all these Baltic nations or whatever nations, they were once a part of it. Great. Okay, fine. Now they are their own nations. Let them be. Let them grow. At the same time, you also can focus on other things. If Russia makes peace with the West, okay, probably Russia will have less sanctions. Russia have opportunity to diversify its growth. Russia might grow, right? So probably there is Chinese influence on Russian thought process also. I have a backer called as China. So even if the West imposes sanctions, China might bail me out. If Russia has that thought process in their mind, that is why it is taking the risk. If actually Russia believed, China won't come to my safety, then probably they would de-escalate by now. So there is a lot of ramifications. The best thing is not to encourage these kind of occupations. See, once you encourage starting, playing with the fire, there are so many countries in the world which are similar situations. Everybody will start playing with the fire, and that will only make the world less safe. Right. So yesterday I told you synthetic biology. There was an article. Not much value addition was there in that particular article. But the definition is, it refers to genetic sequencing, editing, and modification. Is genetic editing a previous year question? What is the tool, Umang? CRISP? Cas9. So CRISPR is the tool that we use for genetic editing. In 2021, I think they have given the Nobel Prize for Medicine for the gene editing also, right? So expect a mains question there. What is CRISP? What is gene editing? Right? So such kind of questions are important, and UPSC have already asked about genetic editing twice. So it's highly recommended that you focus on what is genetic editing. Here, what are we doing? Synthetic biology. We are taking something natural and mixing it with human technology to create a new kind of organisms. Why? The advantages are simple, like bioremediation. See, this is not something new, but now we are focusing on a better thought process. Example, silkworm produces lot of silk. Yes, silkworm produces lot of silk. Whereas there is a spider called as steel spider or something. That spider's web is as strong as steel, but it is as light as feather. Right? I mean, it is obviously a web, right? It's very light in weight, but it's very, very strong. It can, literally hold a lot of weight. Okay. Now what people will do is take this spider's ability in creating that kind of web and imbibe it into silkworm. So what will happen?
Silkworm will
Generate a lot of silk. The spider has a limitation, right? See, I'm just saying the potentiality of genetic engineering, not only synthetic biology. So that silkworm will produce a lot of silk, and that silk will be as strong as steel. So I can produce better armors, better shields, right? I can create an entire industry out of it. So the potentiality is unlimited. We don't even know what is possible, what is not possible. Yeah. So such kind of amazing things are possible in future. Plastic waste. A lot of people are already researching on bacteria which will eat plastic. Oil spills. Oil spill is a huge problem. Recently, we have seen after the Tonga volcanic eruption in Peru, we have seen oil spill. So what will future science hold? They will cordon the entire area, release bacteria, which will eat up all the oil. It will eat the oil. So what will happen? Oil spills can be reduced in less amount of time. So this is future. But scientists are working in those directions. So Indian government should also encourage in that particular arena. So we have a lot of problems that can be solved using things. Pharmacy can take the help of synthetic biology. And the very interesting suggestion is how to reduce the use of fertilizers using technology. So he says there are companies which are working on delivering nitrogen to plants. Okay, because all of right, plants cannot directly fix nitrogen. Nitrogen fixation is a concept. Yes. How many of you remember that concept? Yes. Nitrogen fixation, modern Indian history. No? Art and culture. Which subject? Environment, not geography. Where did you read?
Nitrogen cycle.
Nitrogen cycle. It's not there in NCERT.
NCERT only nitrogen cycle is there.
Which NCERT?
Biology last 4 chapters.
Biology last 4 chapters, not in physical geography. So how does a plant fix nitrogen? What are the not plants? What are the sources of nitrogen fixation?
Rhizobium bacteria, which is present in the leguminous plants. And also through lightning, it is directly fixed. And there are also other bacteria called as Azotobacter, through which the plant acquires nitrogen.
Anything else? Generally, man, technology, right? Factories and all this, fertilizers.
And also the organic manure of the cow, which has got ammonia.
So the most commonly used nitrogen source is urea. So NPK ratio in India, we have a skewed NPK ratio. That means we have thrown a lot of urea into the agricultural fields because plant cannot fix nitrogen on its own. Yes, now Srinivas will tell us what are the 3 most popular gases that are available in Earth atmosphere in the order.
Atmosphere. Nitrogen, carbon dioxide.
First, in the same order of weightage. Yes, Narayan? Lakshmi, sorry, Indian physical geography. There is a chart.
Yes, sir.
The very first page, I think. No?
Yes.
Yes.
Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide.
Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Sure.
Yes.
There is some gafla.
It's argon.
First one is nitrogen, right? Around 78% is nitrogen. So we are discussing about nitrogen. So why will I ask? That means nitrogen is freely available in the air, but the plants are not in a position to absorb. That is the entire problem. That is why we are discussing nitrogen cycle. So that is what I say. Don't read newspapers for sake of reading them. Whenever you see something, apply, right? It will help you remember things for a long amount of time. That is revision. So nitrogen fixation will also happen if synthetic biology is increasing. Apart from this, there is also one more term. When did you hear this term?
In environment.
Bioremediation you have heard in environment, not in newspapers in recent times.
Yes, sir, but as a subject,
It is okay. Static part you are referring to static part. Bioremediation recently. Okay, environment and biodiversity. So that's the source, right? What is bioremediation? Srinivas, Santosh will tell us. Don't worry. Not all questions are for you. Some questions are for Santosh. Umang is waiting.
yes, sir, I'm not waiting. I'm confused.
Umang is waiting to tell. Or Narayan will tell. If none of you will tell, Kirtana will definitely tell. So,
Confused between remediation, accumulation, and magnification.
tell whatever you know. Applying using brain is more important than being correct.
So it is basically the water bodies gets polluted due to the runoff of water, which is again DDT is one of the sources.
You're talking about water pollution, right?
So again, accumulation, magnification, and something else.
Why do you people get so confused? Very simple concept, right? When is the last time I have discussed bioremediation in the class? In which context? Sumant? In which context?
I think just now, sir. I mean,
Earlier, in which context did I discuss about bioremediation in the class? Pratyusha will tell us. In the class? No, I don't think so. ఇప్పుడు చిన్నప్పుడు right long ago in childhood we have discussed something called as solid waste management. याद नहीं आ रहा? नहीं आएगा. Solid waste management, you know. Now what is the context?
Biogas.
I told old garbage patches are being cleaned and there people are introducing bacteria that is called as bioremediation. Now there is a huge demand for this particular thing. When you become collector, you will have to clean garbage patches. That is where you introduce bacteria. There is an article in Hindu on the right hand side. No? None of these things ring bell?
Yes, sir. Sewage treatment plant process.
Sewage treatment plant process also will have bioremediation. So bioremediation is a very emerging thing. In 2011, UPSC have asked about bioremediation. Okay. That's the previous year question as well. Okay. So bioremediation. Why is it in the news? Solid waste management. That is the most happening thing in India. Everywhere, wherever we go to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, extension of urbanization and all these things, bioremediation is being actively used. Hundreds of cities in India are cleaning their old garbage bins, removing the scraps and introducing bacteria to make that area livable. So bioremediation has a lot of potentials. Yes. Yes. Srinivas, do you remember anything related to CRISPR-Cas9 recently in the news? Anything at all? Last 15 days. See, if you want spoon feeding, you can open 10,000 YouTube channels, right? Everybody is like newspaper analysis. Lelo. The problem is same, lelo. When we take, it appears like, I understood everything. But basic concepts like nitrogen fixation is not even recollected properly. So that ability to think and how to think is more important than what to think. If you don't know the answer, sky won't fall down. Okay. But next time when you see that particular chapter in geography, exact whatever she told, all the 3 points are directly either in one paragraph. If I am not mistaken, left hand side, third or fourth paragraph. Literally copy paste from NCERT. That means she was able to recollect because she read it from one source. So next time when you see the same topic, RSR told me, I should remember. Next time when the word bioremediation comes, automatically your brain will focus more. So you should be more proactive on the learning curve. Okay. Yes. Okay. So let's see if bioplastics or synthetic biology develops. We'll discuss more and more. But as for now, there are only 2 articles. If Hindu publishes an article or something, we can discuss. Now, a red pen movement for corporate governance. Is corporate governance important for UPSC? Which paper? GS paper 2. 3.
I think there was a previous question, sir, right?
In 3.
But it's not in 3.
Which paper, Narayan? It's 2.
4 also.
Mostly applicable for paper 4. Corporate governance is mostly more or less applicable for paper 4. Business ethics. Okay. Such things are also called as applied ethics because you are applying it to a particular context. Now, all of you know the story, right? Chaitra Ramakrishnan story. So what happened? See, we don't know who that Himalayan yogi or what that Rama is. Now, see, if we go by that particular standard, now we'll try to look at this article from a whole different perspective. What he's arguing is Chaitra Ramakrishnan is an institutional builder. Okay, she brought a lot of credit to NSC. She created NSC. She made it into a very popular thing, and a lot of money is flowing because of that. Or not only into the institution, into the economy. You understand, right? National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange. Whenever we say NSC, Sensex, we talk about Bombay Stock Exchange. But there is also NSE 50, Nifty 50, Nifty. So she was a very active, person in that particular thought process, NSE, because she's so good in her job. Okay, 99% of her is on a good side. 1% she is doing this. I mean, she's taking the help of a yogini or a baba or something, and she's probably consulting him, and he suggested to appoint someone. So some crores of rupees were given to a X person. Okay, you get the entire picture. That means everybody thought 99% good, everybody knew 1% bad. So it's not like people are blind, right? If corruption is happening in an organization, everybody will know, but they chose to be silent. Why are they silent? Because of the 99%. Okay, now where is the problem coming from? 99 or 1? That 1% has collapsed or crashed your 99. It is risking your entire 99%. So is your ends worth your means? Right? See, that means you're building an institution. At the same time, what means are you taking to build that institution? You are given a lot of power. That does mean you have the luxury to abuse that power, even be it 1%. Okay, it's not worth it. So that is a macro theme that you have to take away from this particular article. People are not blind. See, if corruption is happening from peon to driver, everybody will know. Okay, until it comes into the public, it's a public knowledge. The moment it comes out, everybody is like, oh, I knew this, I thought of saying, I didn't say anything, SEBI, etc. But that is not how things should be, right? Point number 1. And second thing, SEBI as a regulatory body which applies to GS paper 2, now GS paper 2 regulatory body, has not been so proactive. Okay, few years ago itself, someone complained to SEBI saying, there is a problem with this particular individual. Chaitra Ramakrishnan has appointed somebody. He is not qualified. Nobody knows how he is getting that particular post. What is his role? Why he is paid so much? So there is some gafla, right? There is some issue there. But SEBI did not, proactively follow that particular thing. So there is problem with the board of directors. There is problem with institution. There is problem with regulator. Everybody was not doing their job properly. Okay. So organizational values. So if an organization is having a value system, it's the responsibility of everybody involved to promote it, right? That means people should come out of this, this worshipping kind of attitude. If not Chaitra Ramakrishnan, someone else, right? If let's say E. Sridharan, the Metro Man of India, is highly efficient, excellent, everything fine. He gets things done. But let's say he was corrupt. Okay, it's not your job to say, it's okay because he's efficient, he's also corrupt. You have to find a better Sridharan. It's a fallacy to assume that, there are no better people. When Steve Jobs died, that is my favorite go-to quote, right? When Steve Jobs died, everybody thought Apple will collapse. But Tim Cook, who is Tim Cook? No one knew till his name was announced. Probably in the internal circles of Apple, everybody knew Tim Cook. But outside the Apple, no one knew. But today Apple is almost a $3 trillion company, right? So that means you have to have the courage to find someone who will work for the institution within the organizational values. Okay, as long as you allow that 1% to grow, it's like a cancer, it's a tumor. It might appear like everything is building well, but when the things come out, it will take everything along with it. You get the idea? So so that should not be encouraged. Means and ends are equally important. Next. So the same argument, she is doing a great job, she's allowed to, means that kind of freedom we allow to the people should not be allowed, because nobody is bigger than the institution itself. So that should be the ultimate thought process. She is good. Okay, the next person may be average, but average plus honest is more important than good plus corrupt, or good plus weak, or whatever it is. So that should not be encouraged. Got the macro idea? Means is as important as ends. And we do have this general tendency, right? I think SEBI could have established a proper, grievance redressal mechanism. It will make it as easy as possible for someone to file a complaint, and there should be a deadline. If a complaint has been received by SEBI, there should be a deadline. So 40 months of inquiry. In this particular case, a complaint was received 40 months ago. In 40 months, SEBI is still inquiring. That is not how things are supposed to be. Even in online platforms, if you raise a ticket, they will say your ticket has been pending for 3 days or 4 days. So if a small company can do that, why not institutions? If someone raises a complaint with SEBI, did you follow it up? Is it a trivial complaint? Is it a real complaint or a fake complaint? Okay, are you protecting the identity? What is the status of the ticket right now? So it will only promote the trust in the system. We should not be afraid that too many skeletons might come out because of this. Let all the skeletons come out now. Better late than never. Right? So SEBI also have an opportunity to rectify its grievance redressal mechanism or complaint follow-up mechanism. It should be more proactive. So again, we are not only talking about Chaitanya Ramakrishnan, right? We don't know how many other Ramakrishnas are there in the entire system. So SEBI should open up that platform, create that opportunity for people to come out. Then everybody will be afraid to do wrong things. But if you only focus on one case and ignore the macro picture, then we are not doing any institutional structural reform. That is exactly what he also argues. He argues it from the regulator point of view in the sense, board of directors. Board of directors are appointed by the management. That means all the board of directors will be there. They are appointed by the management and they will toe the line of the management. If management is okay with some X person, then the board of directors will also more or less ignore it. Why? You are all happy. You are all board of directors. You are getting the salary. You are getting salary because management is doing well. Why is management doing well? X is helping the management. So everybody is having a vested interest. But what he says is only 50% of the board of directors should be appointed by the management. When only 50% is appointed by the board of the directors, they will have a vested interest, while the other half are free to speak up openly. So that might reduce the chances of such scams in the future. So structural reforms are very, very important rather than individual reforms. And at the end of the day, individual should also have ethics, right? All the rules, regulations. Even if I put all these things also, if X wants to go and talk to some Baba regarding confidential information, I cannot stop that from happening. Can I? You have all the rules and regulations, confidential information, everything you have. You are the cabinet secretary, you know everything. Okay, what is happening in the cabinet, which airport is going to come in the next budget, everything you know. But there is no force on earth that can stop you from leaking that information, apart from your own ethics. Sir, no. Rules and regulations. Unless I tie you up in the room without phone or anything, okay, there is always a mechanism for you to leak it. So what is the ultimate stopgap mechanism? Morals and ethics. So that is the power of morals and ethics. All the rules, regulations, technology in the world cannot stop you from doing something wrong unless you have your own moral compass correct. Okay, so that should also be discussed.
So just like we have Bank Bureau for appointing the banking people, why don't we have similar mechanism in the stock market itself?
Again, see, Bank Board Bureau itself is an extra creation, right? We already had RBI, so we were forced to create a Bank Board Bureau. So within SEBI, I mean, again, see, there are thousands of companies. We cannot enter into all the trivial details. So instead of appointing each and every company, banks are limited number 15, 20. So say, let's say a board of director passed away. The board of director wants to move to USA. He's giving up his position. Like this, if you burden yourself, thousands of cases will be there every day. You get that picture, right? So that is a whole different matter.
So what is the auditing mechanism of regulators in SEBI? If they have proper internal and external audits, then these leakages might be.
Again, here, see, if it is about money, probably we can catch them. It is not about money, right? It is about discussing something with someone you are not supposed to discuss. Confidential information.
But
and again, here there is no proof that because she said something to Baba, some losses have happened. At least I couldn't get my hands on a proper concrete evidence that I said something to Suman and that led to financial gains for Sumant or someone. That is not there. But first of all, you are not supposed to say. There is a definite corruption where appointment of that particular person, there is a mediator, right? There is a middle person. So that person has been consulted, he was given salary, he was promoted multiple times, he's getting good amount of perks, benefits, and nobody actually knows what his role is. That came directly from source, spiritual source, spiritual guidance.
So in one aspect, we can also think about scientific.
Lack of scientific temper. First thing I said, right? So two things. One is scientific temper. We don't have that. You know, you'll be surprised with lack of scientific temper. One day I read in the newspaper article. I told you probably this. There was a district collector and a judge. Both of them went to a same hill station. Okay, and there is only one cottage with east facing or something. So the district collector occupied that cottage. Then the judge came and said, you know, my spiritual advisor says I have to stay only in east facing quarters or something. So will you vacate it for me? Then the district collector ignored his suggestion. So that from then onwards, the judge has a vendetta towards this particular person. Now think of millions of people, right? So we don't even know what lack of scientific temper is doing to a lot of government institutions. Yes, and nobody is actually bothered about organization values. Right? If I'm working in a public sector unit, my institution is more important to me than my own ego or my own job. But people actually think the opposite side. If government is paying me salary, that means I am a permanent employee. Relax. Okay, I won't let you do. Let there be losses to the company. I don't care. But my ego or my domination should be there. I'm not bothered about organization losses. Okay, I want to stay in this particular place. I don't want to get the transfer. You are inefficient, you are corrupt, you won't let the things done. But still you won't get the transfer. Why? Your daughter's place is nearby to this particular post. And nobody in the government is also bothered about this. So whose loss? Government's loss. There is a Telugu idiom, right? Kandaklendur the Kattipita Kendu. Yes or no? That means, you know, okay. How do I translate that?
Elephant's foot. Name is elephant's foot.
Okay, there is a vegetable. That vegetable is very sticky, itchy. Okay, that means if I cut that vegetable, if the vegetable is not bothered, okay, why should the knife be bothered about it? Something in those lines. Okay. But it's very hard to translate idioms, right? Yeah. Hindi mein kya hai? English mein. Any English alternative? Okay, I will try to find it out. You get the idea, right? So, if the government is not bothered about the losses or inefficiency, why will a fellow employee will have any issues? So, this personal moral value should always be imbibed. People should work for organization values. So, if personal values and organization values are overlapping, then institutions will grow. If personal values are yes. So lucky, right? So, these two things are very important. Personal values and organization values should overlap. Only then growth will be there. If organization values are not there, you will always look for personal values. Clear? A very simple article use international laws on China's violations. Okay, so he brings the entire story on how many times that China have bypassed Indian agreements and international agreements. So that is not the core theme. The core suggestion or something new from this particular article is we have to enact a national security law imposing restrictions or sanctions, and we should not be afraid of it. See, after Galwan incident, we have amended the Foreign Direct Investment Act, saying what? Any country that shares boundary with India cannot directly bring this much amount of money into India. I think 200 crores or something. If more than 200 crores are coming from a particular company into India by a country which shares boundary with India, it has to take the approval route, not the automatic route. Okay, so we did not directly say we are aiming at China. See, Bangladesh is not investing 200 crores in India, right? Obviously, the only country investing is China. But we did not have a national security law saying that China, because you have done all these things, I'm imposing sanctions on you. Or I'm not encouraging you to do the trade with India. We are going to ban your apps. So we have to take the legal backing for all these things, because if you take, see, in one line he says we have to take it to international and all those things. We already have this, Jammu and Kashmir debacle in the mind. We have taken Jammu and Kashmir to international area where US and UK lobbied for Pakistan rather than for India. So the debacle has happened. So knowing that very well, we cannot make a bilateral issue into a multi-global issue. So what we should do is at least have a national security law where we directly tell China that enough is enough. If you transgress, if you violate any agreements with us, you are suffocating, or you are going to suffer. Then nobody, or we can justify it at any place, right? Whether with America or Germany or some other country, there won't be any issue. But if there is no agreement, if there is no law, China will have its own narration, India will have its own narration. Let's take the Galvan hero, the Winter Olympics as an example. China considers him as a hero, but nobody is able to say that, he is actually a person who came into Indian land, right? So that LIC has to be respected. So we should not be timid about it. That is what he's trying to argue. At least we should have a law where we will have a clear-cut evidence that you have done this. That is why I'm imposing these sanctions, which might help us in the future, right? So that is a major takeaway. The rest of the article is very straightforward, simple, nothing new. But China is not a good neighbor. It's an expansionist in nature. So there is one more article about Narega. We have discussed this actually. Narega's budget this time is only 73,000 crores. But Narega is a demand-driven scheme. If there is more demand at the grassroots level, automatically more money is pumped into Narega. If there is no demand, no need for pumping the money. Now, what is the government's argument or thought process? Government is thinking that now that economy is open, there is no COVID, or at least the wave subdued, people are free to do a lot of jobs. Construction will pick up, economy will pick up. People will find better jobs. They won't be dependent. They won't be dependent on Narega. So because of that, demand will be less for Narega. Given that good monsoon and good economic activity, Narega's demand will definitely come down. Fact. How much will it come down? That calculation is not accurate according to the article. Okay, but it's common sense that demand will come down. Pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID, if we observe, obviously during COVID the demand was high because there was no economic activity. Post-COVID, high economic activity, less demand. And he also says the the private institutions, they calculated how many people will demand Narega jobs, how much money should be spent. They are suggesting 2.6 lakh crore to 3.64 lakh crores has to be spent on Narega rather than 73,000 crores. See the difference. 3 lakh crores, 70,000 crores. Okay. No, the most popular argument is Narega is a revenue expenditure. It is not even creating any capital assets. So pumping 3 lakh crores, is it making any sense? Will I get any capital returns? No, right? So that is why governments are hesitant to spend this money. As we have seen, they have diverted this to capex. Now, this is a major theme. Okay.
So on any given day, the finance ministry can resolve for
supplementary budgets or out of non-budgetary expenditure can be increased. They have last year also pumped 25,000 crores extra, right? So that is not a problem. Somehow we tried all the other activities before this, but it did not work. I think the cable Might be the issue, right? Yeah, it's working. Now they also talk about total minimum wage per day. You don't do 8 hours of work in Narega, right? So if you do, let's say 4 hours of work in Narega, you will get some amount of money. Like this, how many days are you working? Based on that, the Narega wages will be there. So there is a recommendation of 375 rupees per day by committee. That it should be the minimum wage. But the average that government is taking is 209 rupees. There is a variation there also. So less demand plus less minimum wage. Both of these things suggest government has calculated these things, and that is why it has allocated less amount of money. If you take higher minimum wage and higher number of demand or higher number of days, automatically budget will increase. In reality, Narega has become a end in itself.
Yes, sir.
Rather than a
Means.
Narega is supposed to be a means. What is the means? Poverty elevation, empowerment, rural development, employment generation, right? So Narega is supposed to create all these things in the long run. But Narega has become a end in itself. That means you have to pump money into the hands of the people. They will take the money, right? And they will do some non-skilled, unskilled labor. But it is not good for them or for the nation in the long run. Yes or no? I think primary what is the deficit? The new kind of deficit, effective primary.
It's effective
Primary revenue deficit, right? What is effective revenue deficit?
For the state.
It is the
So when we remove the grants given to the state.
that
the
is
capital.
given for capital asset creation.
That is for capital asset creation. That means I have given money for revenue. Within that, some capital asset has been created. Whatever is remaining is effective, right? So this shows that some money has gone into the capital asset creation also. So government is trying to push as much as money within Narega also towards capital asset creation. But that is not happening efficiently or effectively because Narega at the grassroots level has to be implemented by states and districts. So again, all of the bureaucracy is inefficient, corrupt, and all those things. Administrative reforms are not happening. So even if I pump 3 lakh crores into Narega, if I have a guarantee that some capital asset will be created, there is no harm in pumping that kind of money. But right now I'm pumping money into Narega. Why? Because I have to pump. I don't have any other safety mechanism. If I don't pump, rural economy will collapse. That will lead to a lot of problems. So that there should be some out of the box solution for this entire rural area development apart from Narega. See, till Narega, there was no such thing. Rural development schemes. There were so many schemes, but there is a pan-India scheme called as Narega. It is showing some usage. It is having some good qualities, but we have stopped to make it better. There are best practices to better practices. Yes or no? So I think we forgot that line. We have implemented something and we are happy with it. What is there? Narega is there. Katam. Is Narega updated? Is there a Narega 2.0, 3.0? Are we updating Narega software? No. People will argue that even the basic Narega is not being properly implemented. Why are you thinking about Narega 2.0? But we have to think about Narega 2.0 because if I am genuinely concerned about the rural people, I know for a fact that tomorrow these startups, drones, technology, yesterday Kisan drones have been announced. So all these things will come out and mechanization of agriculture will happen. A lot of people will be unemployed. Automation will come. A lot of people will be unemployed. They won't have any jobs. Even graduation is just a norm. Earlier 10th class, no graduation. Both are same. Everybody is a graduate. Millions and millions of Indians will be unemployed. All of them will be looking towards Narega or such schemes. How long will we use them? How long will you ask them to clean the same pond again and again? Yes or no? So in the long run, if we actually bothered about people, we have to update Narega. Or for political statement, if you want to make status quo, pump money, things will take care of itself. No, that should not be the attitude. Okay, so I think it's high time that both sides honestly argue that Narega has to change for good. I don't know. See, there are only two kinds of articles. Either Narega is useless The other side is Narega is a lifesaver. You need to make Narega better. Wages are not coming in time, so on and so forth. The other side is Narega is not doing anything. But we have to make Narega better. There are thousands of other schemes where we can integrate Narega with. Maintain Narega, but make Narega better. That research has to take place, pilot projects and all these things. Only then the rural area side will have some future, or else everybody will be dependent. Long term is community kitchens. Yes or no? When you don't have any job, what will you do? You go to Anna canteen, Amma canteen, pay 2 rupees, eat, sleep, again wake up, 2 rupees, 5 rupees, sleep. Yes or no? The 2 rupees, 5 rupees government will give. DBT. Got it?
So, if you take MO, Ministry of Road Transport and all, they're advertising like anything that they're building some lakh crore worth assets. So why don't they amalgamate Narega into Narega?
I think there is a scheme.
valuable?
I forgot it. What they will do is they will take all this, wastage from Narega or something. They will use it for the road construction. I forgot that. I will tell you. See, people are trying, but it is not mass scale.
So, but the day-to-day administration itself takes away a lot of energy.
The very term is
that is true, sir.
unskilled. Okay, the very nature of Narega is unskilled job. All you have to do is lift this stone from here to here. There is no skill involved whatsoever. You cannot do it scientifically, right?
Sir, laying roads, carrying even that is kind of unskilled labor.
But again, it is not for highways and all those things, right? Again, as I said, nobody is evaluating Narega in the way it is supposed to be evaluated, right? See, the problem with bureaucracy is status quo. We cannot blame them. They have so many other works to do. So if Narega is working, don't fix unless it is broken. If something is working, tuta, puta, whatever it is, low mileage, high mileage, or whatever it is, something is there, right? Narega is there. What is the problem? Let Narega continue. Okay. When too much unemployment increases, when too much, as I said, whatever scenario I have said, automation, Narega, unemployment has increased, people are dependent fully on Narega, too much demand on Narega. Either I will increase the budget on Narega or I will announce something called as Mission Annapurna. Feed everyone 3 times a day. Matter over. Food security. After that, you can watch serials. No? See, if I give the same 3 lakh crore rupees to food security, I mean, directly cooked means within the villages. Community kitchen. Everybody will come together, cut the vegetables, everything. At the evening, they will eat. Bonding. No?
Good idea.
That is future. I cannot see any other future. Probably I'm bounded by my rationality. I'm biased. No? Can you think of any better future? People will have jobs. Everybody will live in pakka houses. 24/7 electricity. Universal basic income. I think it's outdated now.
Before elections, we can hear this.
Before elections. 100% reservation. How will it help? It won't help. There are only very few jobs, right? We are forgetting the population of India is going to be 1.5 billion. Okay, that means how many crores? 150 crores. Even if I say, you are 1 in a crore, if I make you stand such people, the line will go till a tea stall. Even if you are 1 in a crore, so no, that is a huge line. People do say, right, you are a 1 in a million, you are a brilliant fellow. So 150 other fellows are there. Okay, so that is the size of population, right? And we hardly talk about 20 to 100 people, right? What about the rest? Software jobs, service jobs are limited in intake, government jobs limited in intake, half of the PSUs will be closed. So you have to be realistic in understanding all these things, right?
People would like to do startups.
Who, if, see, the same way, if everybody is cooking pakoda, who is going to eat it? I totally agree with you. You want to be a pakoda seller, I want to be a startup. See, everybody will do their own business. Who is going to buy? See, again, there is a saturation, right? There is a huge amount of saturation. The other day, there was an article in Hindu. Families with more than 7 crore rupees in assets. 4 lakh families are something in India. 4 lakh families in India have more than assets of 7 crores. Okay, 4 lakh families. How many families are there in India? Crores. Households are
60 crores. 60 crores.
If you take 4 per family, right? 150 by 4. Okay, so many households. Within them, 4 lakhs are having all the money. Okay, the rest are not having any resources, right? See, Hyderabad or Delhi or all these urban conglomerates are not the growth, right? Within Hyderabad also you can clearly see the structural divides. Yes, people will get food for 15 rupees. People will get food for 15,000 rupees also. So that is not what we are talking about. The masses, people who are not even seeing all these things exist. What about them? What is their livelihood? What is the future for them? Yeah. So again, I think we will cross the bridge when it comes. Again, there is a Telugu idiom. దాహం వేసినప్పుడు బావి తవ్వుకుంటాం. So we will dig a well when we are thirsty. Yes, so that we can get more thirsty. Sir, no. Digging a well is a hard work. Why are you digging a well? To quench your thirst?